Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I'm Sylvia Hartman, best known as the creator of modern energy. And it's taken many things and a long journey, a long road to get to where we are today. And today is quite special. It's been exactly 23 years since an aspect of mine sat down and started to write a fantasy fiction trilogy by the name of Serein. 23 years ago, my aspect sat down in front of a computer to write a novel. And what that means in my terms is that I had gotten ready at that point, 23 years ago, to tell a story that my dear energy mind would send me, and to tell it just as it came. That's not an easy thing to do. I very much remember sitting in front of this blank document, which didn't have a name, didn't have a title, my fingertips sort of hovering over the keyboard, and realizing that I was just too afraid to get started on this journey. I was too terrified. What if I said something that would upset my family or my children? What if I said something that upset readers, or that publishers wouldn't like, or that people would hold against me in some way for having written? Because there's always this idea that when a writer writes a story, that the protagonists in the story are themselves or something. And that's way too oversimplified to even consider that. It doesn't work like that at all. But anyway, so there was my 23 years younger aspect, age 40, yeah, just sitting there in front of the white document and incapable of moving forward, incapable of putting anything on the page. You could call that writer's block, if you will. I'm guessing that's what it was. And it came to me. This is interesting because this is 3 years before the heart position entered into modern energy as such a profound basic pattern, that it ended up with me putting my hands on my heart and promising that I would write down things as they were sent to me, that I wouldn't look over my shoulder at the readers or the publishers or the critics or the family or anybody or anything, and that I would just tell the story honestly as it unfolded. And so I did that, took a deep breath, and I could see the first words on the screen. And well, I've got the book here. Here it is. The very first words were, I'll read them out on this special day for this special occasion. For as long as I can remember, I always wanted to be a Serein. The more they warned me to stay away from the Serein, the more I wanted to become one of them. As simple as that, really. Of course, there was more. They told me the Serein were dangerous. I thrilled inside. They told me the Serein were evil. I shuddered deliciously. They told me the Serein were insane, and I saw the fear in their eyes and wanted that kind of power so badly I could taste it in my soul. From the time I was 3 years old, I was utterly hooked on becoming a Serein. Just one problem. I was low-born and never chosen. Yet somehow I always knew that none of that would matter Once I could wear the blue robes and hide my face behind a small distortion. To be a Serein, I had to become one. Yeah, and so it began. This, by the way, is only book 1. There's 2 more. So it began that incredible journey over a year of living there and experiencing everything that every one of the entities in Serein did experience. Such a trip, such a ride. The most intense creative experience of my entire life. And I am 100% convinced that without Serein, this great breakthrough that was EMO, energy in motion, previously known as emotrance, could not possibly have happened. Because in the writing of Serein, I worked through all manner of strange energy blockages in my systems, learned so much about so many things. Just writing such a fantasy trilogy is a personal development endeavor. Well, I don't think you can beat it, doing that for a year. And now we do Star Matrix. Without Serein, there wouldn't have been no Star Matrix. This is a massive contributor to the whole of modern energy, how it worked, how it unfolded. Lucian's language. Do check that out. There's a video on this channel of this title. Fascinating. Very important. But I digress. I had so many extraordinary star moments in Serein. And one day, if I ever get the time and space, I'll go through the entire book, all 3 books of Serein, the entire trilogy, and I'll pick out all the extraordinary star moments they were there. But I think the one that blew me away the most happens right at the end. Right at the end. Right at the end, Iska wants to tell the story of her life, and she summons a scribe. And I was just writing. I was completely there in the writing, just following the events along and describing them as best as I can, translating what I'm seeing, hearing, feeling, sensing into these words, and then transmitting that into my fingertips on the keyboard. So I did not write any of Serein consciously. All of it is written, if you will, in a trance state of just channeling this. And I must give a tip here to any writer who ever wants to undertake this. Please make sure not to play the story in your head when you're not in front of a keyboard or have a pen in your hand. Because if you do, you are losing that surprise, that original power of the experience, and you're just sort of secondhand retelling after the fact. So I learned right from the start to never think about it unless I was in front of a keyboard. So that each one of these things that I was experiencing could be transmitted straight out and through in all its rawness, if you will, in all its intensity, and also in its surprise, told for the very first time, not retold over and over again. Everything is told in real time. Yeah, so I am in a deep trance state, getting towards the end of the book, and wrote these words, and they appeared on the page before me, and I was so astonished by them. This scribe was young and nervous, scared, And Iska tells him not to be afraid, not to worry about making spelling mistakes, or most importantly, to take down her words as she would speak them, and not try to figure out what it was she might have meant, not try to make sense of them, just write them down as she would speak them. That was her instruction to the scribe. And this was a year after that moment my aspect had sat in the heart position and promised exactly that to the dear energy mind. And so the stream began. And the connection between that moment and the moment of writing down about the little scribe who came in, and just take down the words and don't try and correct them or figure out what you thought I might have meant. Just take down the words. That was such a extraordinary thing. If you consider all that went in between, the whole story of Serein and all the emotions and experiences lay in between these two moments. And at that time, a moment in time, they just connected up. And the thing was complete. And that was an extraordinary star event for me. To realize that I'm really, conscious me is just the scribe. There's somebody with more knowledge, more experience, who may use language in quite a different way than the little scribe might be, used to or familiar with. But that this other person has more experience, more knowledge, and is the one who knows the story the best. And yeah, that's what I would like to finish with, is that when you're writing from your energy mind, there is nothing like it. It is extraordinary. It is, well, the story you've been wanting to see. You go to the cinema and you look at what's on the titles. But the real story that would evolve you, that would not solve your problems, but put you in a different position or excite you, that you will never see in the cinema. You won't find it in a bookshop, but you can find it if you can somehow forge out the extraordinary time and space and attention to sit down and write your trilogy, as it's shown to you step by step by your dear energy mind. It's an extraordinary, extraordinary thing. I shall be eternally grateful that I've had this experience. There's so much that I learned in writing that book. And I really honestly believe that more people should do that, if they can ever find the time and space in their lives to do that. And any person who can go to the perfect place in time and space can start a meta story, an adventure of transformation for themselves that is just extraordinary, if they were to choose to do that. And I'm not scared of AI's writing stories, because I know what real story writing feels like, what that is, and what that does for you. So, yeah, in that sense, happy 23rd anniversary, dear Serein. Love that cover design. Very, very grateful to have had this experience. With lots of love, and look after your infinite creativity. It's the greatest gift we human beings have been endowed with. Please don't waste it. With lots of love. See you in the next video. Bye for now.